Hi, welcome to another Doom mixtape episode. And today I'm going to be playing a map, part of a two-part duology, I guess you could say. A fairly famous community map from 2012 from the set Community Chest 4, and it's called Shaman's Device. It's the second part of I think it's map 20 and map 21 of Community Chest 4, and it's fairly well known. There's a whole story involving this rogue AI that you'll see a little glimpse of, that little red thing. You'll see more of him later. Named Shaman, and supposedly you have to chase him to unlock this portal in this increasingly abstract computer-like, tech-like environment. And yeah, so the first map, which is called Interstellar Sickness, I think, you're like approaching it, and it's kind of like this sci-fi space setting, and this is more of like you're inside the computer setting. So this was a fairly famous map at the time. There's a lot of like little tricks it does, like those pillars moving, I think probably done on some sort of like what's the word, conveyor belt sort of thing. And there's a lot of interesting textures, a lot of transparent textures. So I will say, just right off the bat, I don't know how much like frame droppage there is in this recording, but I know it gets real bad at the end, and I don't know why it like pisses me off. I don't know, there's something weird about recording with OBS 35 FPS or something, but in any case, it shouldn't be too bad until then, but it's just really annoying. I didn't really want to go back and record everything. But yeah, anyway, this first area is kind of whatever, it's fine, but once things open up just a little bit after this room, you'll really see. So just a little background to this map. It's by an author named lupinx-kassman, aka Chris Kassap, and it came out, like I said, in 2012 for the set Community Chest 4. So the Community Chest map sets were, as you might expect, community map sets done by a bunch of different people, and this was of the aughts. So there's some like famous maps that were in the context of those sets, but they're also famously like a mixed bag. And this set also took a ridiculously long time to make and release compared to the others. I think the others were usually done in about a year. This took like 4 years or 5 years, 4.5. It supposedly started in either 2007 or 2008 and didn't get released until 2012. Oh yeah, more frame droppage there. Well, you'll just have to bear with me. I'm sorry it's a little bit dark too. There's other footage of this on the internet, so if you want to see something in slightly more pristine quality, you can. But in any case, oh yeah, here's where things really open up. But yeah, it was kind of famously took a really long time, and like a lot of the mappers lost interest, and they didn't do any Community Chest sets after that. But it was also a really big deal when Community Chest 4 released in 2012, because I think a lot of, like, especially this map and the previous map, a lot of this stuff would go on to influence stuff of the past, I guess, 8 years released after. It's kind of funny, I didn't really play through Community Chest 4 until more recently, and I haven't beaten it, but I've gotten very close. I think it was like map 26 or 27, and I don't know, I think it's a little overrated personally. I wasn't too excited by most of the maps. I think it was like a high standard for the time, but I'm not sure how much all of it holds up. I don't know, I just wasn't terribly inspired by it. But there's this whole trend that the Community Chest maps are really famous for, which is like everyone's trying to one-up each other everyone's trying to do their own like ambitious thing. So it's really a lot of it is like a bunch of people's solo doom wads like kind of strung together, which means there's no real continuity or whatever. And I mean, this has always been a problem with community map sets, but I think it's especially bad with the community chest sets. So yeah, and I mean, I guess this map is an example of it, but it stands out so well that people love it. And it was like, this map was hugely well received when it came out. The mapper Chris Kassap hasn't done much since then. Like, I mean, he's done various things, but he's like by far the most famous for this map and another map in the set Ancient Aliens called Culture Shock, which is also a really interesting, unique setting. So he's clearly somebody, and I mean, he's done other stuff too, but like he's clearly somebody who is famous for, spending a lot of time on these like very ambitious 1 or 2 maps, and just like really wowing you with that. But yeah. So I guess another interesting thing about Community Chest 4 is they're at the beginning of the project, I guess, they made this whole huge texture pack, which is just a massive, for being just full of Doom textures. It's a very large size file. You can find it online. It's usually called CC4 text or something like that. And that's what all the mappers could use. And a lot of sets after that have used that, including the Japanese community project, which I played several maps from already. I like that better than Community Chest 4, to be honest. Although there are good maps in Community Chest 4. So yeah, this map is really, I think it kind of like, so that secret reference, there's like a little Commander Keen style BJ or Doom guy, and it kind of references, there's a secret in the previous map that's also like that sends you to a secret area, but it's a nice little Easter egg. I get most of the secrets in this. But so I'm not sure where all these textures are from, but I recognize some from like Eternal Doom. There are probably some from like, Dark Forces or Heretic or things like that, in addition to ones that people made. Yeah, once again, I have to apologize for the frame droppage. One of the silly things about that texture pack though is that like there's so many different color variants of textures, and like people will use like ridiculous trim of color. Like the color coordination is often really bad, and I mean, I feel like this map gets away with it mostly because that's kind of what it is. Like that's what the style of the map is. But I'm not like a huge fan of CC4. I don't think it's at all color coordinated, and some maps in this set and that have used this texture pack have been very silly. So yeah, Chris also had a secret map in Community Chest 3, which came out, let's actually check when it came out, in 2007, and it's called Disarming the Mechanism. I always remember it just because it has a memorable name, and that also is like has a concept. The concept is in the title, but it's nowhere near as like just ambitious as this one is. I love the background elevator textures like that. They really make this. It makes this map. It's a clever illusion that makes this map feel like infinite. Also, it's always fun whenever you're walking on transparent boxes. I'm not sure how that's done, but there's some kind of trick to it. It's probably the same trick that is used for like for doing doing transparent bridges and stuff like that that you can go under. That's like there's a sort of like a hack that you can use with the Doom engine, because it doesn't really allow you to do that natively. That was found out in the 90s, that a lot of people have used. But yeah, that's how you can have a primitive version of room over room just via like these little bridges. I guess you can theoretically go under them. But it isn't really utilized much. There are some neat other effects too. Some of it is just like clever ways of getting around, Doom engine limitations and stuff. That little, there's a little portal that'll step into with the famous, what is it called? Texture. Fire blue texture that causes streams to screw up. If I step into the fire blue portal, it'll send me back here, because otherwise there's no way to get back here. So that's very clever, and it's done contiguously. I presume it's just like some kind of silent teleporter to where you step in and you fall. You can't see below, but it just teleports you to where you previously were. But because it seemed very seamless. It feels like you're just dropping into, which feels like impossible. And that's one of the great tricks of working within the limitations of an engine like this is that you can make illusions like that seem all the more strange and impressive because you're not used to seeing that kind of thing happen. Yeah, here you'll see it. I'll go in there right here. It just drops me right there. It seems like totally contiguous. It's a really neat effect. So yeah, I think this map is famous really for that, maybe more than anything else, in addition to other things. And like this background, it's like always moving. I don't know, presumably there are like things triggering those sectors to make the lifts just go up and down perpetually. Probably behind the scenes, oftentimes within like boom levels that are made in like the boom engine, they'll use a conveyor belt moving floor, which I think there is a moving floor in this level, maybe not. Oh yeah, no, there is. And it'll move a voodoo doll version of you around that you can't control, but it like basically is you. And that's how the game can just hurt you without you even knowing, or it can trigger things behind the scenes. So oftentimes map sets will use that, like the set by Moldy, Syriac Harris going down, will use that for like a timer, to where certain things happen on a timer, like 30 seconds into the level, this thing will happen. 1 minute in the level, this thing will happen. That's a clever way of like basically primitive scripting. So I think there's probably some of that in this map. I haven't looked at I haven't looked at it in the editor, but it's like those kinds of hacks and other effects that are often used with things like this. As far as like the combat and some of the environments, I think this is really just. I mean, it's a perfectly fun map. I wouldn't say it's bad, but it's really about the spectacle more so than anything else. I wouldn't say that there's like one memorable set piece per se in this map. It's like really just the whole experience collectively, which is fine. I think it works well for what it is. If this guy was doing, an entire megawad, perhaps, that would get old. But yeah, let's read. So this is a fairly famous map, probably one of the most famous that I played on Doom Mixtape, which is why because Community Chest 4 is pretty famous, and this and the previous map are probably the most famous maps in it. Like I said, if you're bothered by how dark or choppy this video is, feel free to find like a 1080p video, and you'll see. With someone with a nicer rig than me. I still don't know why it didn't used to do it when I recorded my old videos. I never used to have any problems with frame drops like I've had, but right now I'm trying to fight these revenants. There's really not much to say about particular areas of the map. I'll point out things as we go, but it really is just about the spectacle, I think, and just the experience of being in a space like this more than anything else. So yeah, what was I going to say? So this is probably the most famous map from the set, along with the previous map, and it's on the top 100 memorable maps list on Doom World. It's listed along with the previous map, which again is a good map, but I think this really shows you everything. It's like the highlight. I think it's better than the previous map, and because it really is just about the spectacle. I'll read from this entry. So collectively, they're number 18 on this list. It says, if you've ever so much as glimpsed lupinx-kassman's space duology, it's easy to see why they were practically all the community could talk about in 2012, taking players on a jaw-dropping journey from uber-futuristic floating platforms into the glowing cyberpunk bowels of the space station in search of a rogue AI named Shaman. They raised the bar for what Doom maps could be and set a wow factor, quote-unquote, precedent that mappers would strive toward for years to come. Wow, my throat is really dry. I'm going to take a drink of water. You can see there's some H.R. Giger little textured portraits that are borrowed here. They looked like System Shock to me, but I'm pretty sure they're H.R. Giger stuff. I was teaching at a school at USC in Southern California, and they had a little exhibit on Alien, the movie Alien, and they had some of the original like sketches, and some of the like the spacesuits and stuff that they wear, in addition to just some prints of like H.R. Giger stuff, which weren't original prints, but it was really cool to see all that stuff. It was just like randomly in their cinema building on their campus. I took a bunch of pictures on my Instagram, but that was really cool. That was probably the second coolest thing, other than seeing the model for the Blade Runner Tyrell building, which is in the Museum of the Moving Image in New York City, I'm pretty sure. But anyway, I'm going to take a drink of water now. Oh, God. Yeah, so here we're in a dark hallway. There's some crushers. Like I said, this is just like... This isn't one thing where I can point your attention to a particular thing that's happening. It's more just about the overall experience or effect. You can see the little red blinking thing. That's the rogue AI, and you'll see it appear at various points. I'll like point it out. This is probably the second or third time it's appeared, but you can see it more noticeably right now. So I guess the idea is that at some point through the map you'll see it, and you'll watch it go down. So it really piques your interest, because you're like, what is this thing? Like, why am I following it? The moment that you might become aware of it, it just goes away really suddenly. So that tells you that there's something, there's something it's moving you towards. Okay, so this is the second section of the map, which probably like, I don't know if I like it as much as the first. It's fine, but all I'm basically doing is it's fairly basic in terms of like both combat and like gameplay setup. I'm just going to one of two sides in order to get to the red and yellow keys so that I can unlock the central platform and get to the end and fight a bunch of bosses, and that's where frames start being dropped all over the place and all that kind of good stuff. So but we'll get there when we get there. Yeah, basically I'm just like fighting these guys on the side. So the Doom World Megawad Club, which plays megawads from Doom, actually played this back in 2012. It was one of the very first things they played, and I assume they played it right around when the set was released. So it is an interesting, almost like a time capsule. 2012 is actually a very particular year, because I think this set had just came out when I first started following Doom maps again a lot, and so I feel like this set was really talked up a lot as like this big achievement, partially from these maps. And like I said, I think I was a little disappointed actually playing through it more recently. I mean, there are some good maps in there, but some of the reception on the Megawad Club thread, there are a lot of people saying that, one or two people said it was overrated, and then some other people were saying, well, this is obviously a really impressive achievement, but the combat isn't very good. And I don't even think it's just the combat. I think like gameplay wise, there's not that much like interesting or memorable there. But like I said, it's really just about the collective experience, I think, more so than anything else to me. You can watch me get... I'm like trying to avoid this fireball and it's not working. But yeah, like I have to do this over again, and then I just like run in circles just avoiding the fireball for like 30 seconds. It's kind of funny. I don't really like revenants. I know a lot of people love them. I just find them annoying. That's just me personally, though. There's all these cool custom textures here. You can see like symbols put into the wall. There's the weird violet floor, which I don't know how well it matches with everything else. But that's a lot of Doom mods. They're not necessarily color coordinated super well. There's like custom little HUD, virtual HUD things used. So this is all just like kind of a spectacle. You can see just all the little different textures used to create this effect. Yeah, it's so a lot of like Doom sets, I think, from the aughts in particular would go for maximalism in terms of detail, but not necessarily give the effect of a map like this, because the details would be rather pointless, whereas like here there's like a lot of different things flashing at you. Like the effect is very obvious, like it's very noticeable, which is kind of the impressive thing about it. And it is like still a lot more restrained than a lot of Doom maps that I see in terms of like visual detail. Like here it's like mostly things are mostly coordinated in a dark gray, but we have these little things like teleporters that are just there that don't really do anything. Presumably they have some sort of purpose, like narrative wise, in this map or something. You can see like the background is a different color, like it was violet before, then it was red before that. And there's little like tubes, just lots and lots of little details like that. And you know, if it's not done in a way that is interesting or compelling, it can just be annoying and look like visual clutter. But in the case of this map, it works. I think actually lupinx-kassman's his map in Ancient Aliens is possibly even better received now because it's a little more restrained, and it's not just like kind of tech garble, but also you know, has this like interesting, unique fantasy setting. So that's probably like slightly more well received in hindsight, but I might get to that map, or maybe not, we'll see. But this map is something that has been very, very influential, which is why I don't really know what else to say about it, other than, you know, it's a testament to somebody really just doing their own thing and being very, very completely ambitious to a degree that's almost unnecessary within the context of a Doom community. Really trying to impress people, obviously, and trying to create something that feels totally unique and of its own self, and definitely achieves that in spite of, you know, some of the complaints about the combat maybe being not the most interesting, or maybe, you know, I can't really pick out one area of this map over others is like, you know, really distinctive like I could in something like the silos, you know, from Memento Mori 2, which is one of my favorite maps. There's all these unique, distinct areas that are done, you know, conveyed with very limited means. This is the kind of the opposite of that, but it's fine. It works in this case. Often it doesn't work, but yeah. So yeah. Yeah, I was surprised going back through the Doom World Megawad Club, and that, you know, some people were, I think, reacting to how popular this map was, and they were like, you know, oh, the combat isn't all what it's cracked up to be, or like, this took a long time to play through, or, you know, etc. So I think that's just a reaction to the fact that these maps were like, this and the previous map were like rapturously received at the time. This is kind of an interesting setup. I'm fighting a cyber demon here. I'm choosing to fight him with a shotgun just for the hell of it. I usually just ignore cyber demons, but I'm pretty sure you have to kill him. Maybe you don't have to kill him. You might be able to just telefrag him here. I think you have to kill him in order for a teleport platform in the center to lower, and for you to be able to access and teleport through the platforms that he's standing on and teleporting, and in order to advance to the next area. So it's very like, cartoon logic, or, it's fairy tale logic or whatever, how you advance from one area to another. It's not like necessarily worried about contiguousness. Okay, yeah, it's lowered, so I think it's on a timer. I just kill him anyway, because I usually don't, and I'm like, well, fuck it, I'm just gonna circle strafe and kill this guy with a shotgun. I'm not like the type of Doom player who enjoys doing that, but it's fine. I just figured I might as well. And the cacos are helping me out here, which is very helpful. They end up surviving past where he survived. Yeah, you see the background, it's blue now too, so there's like some color coordination with particular areas. So yeah, I just picked up the yellow key, then I'm stepping in the center platform in a second, and it will warp me all around the sides and to the next area. So I guess it's like, this is kind of a series of gauntlets in a way. Like, the place where you can go either left or right to get either, the yellow key or the red key, I guess gives you a choice. But for the most part, this is a very linear map, in spite of the impression that it might give off. So, which is, again, not really a bad thing, but, might surprise you just looking at this map. It looks very open and non-linear in terms of, like, just what you can see at any given moment. Let's see, what else is there to say about this map? Yeah, I talked a little bit about Community Chest 4. I think yeah, I feel like Community Chest 4 really embodied like a lot of what has come after in inspiration in terms of popular Doom sets, things like Ancient Aliens, with which Chris lupinx-kassman contributed to, Valiant, and things like that have been really, really popular, or like REDUX, his map sets. It's like a lot of that stuff isn't necessarily to my taste as much, or at least like I find it less interesting because it's more beloved, maybe. Which is why it's kind of maybe even silly to do an episode about this map, but a lot of the people who watch this probably don't follow Doom maps, so it's probably good to show something that is not necessarily lesser known by any means in the Doom community. So here you have spikes. I like the way that he handles the spikes. So I'll fall into the pit at some point, but damn, that's some bad frame drops. But it'll just teleport you and damage you and then teleport you back, basically, instead of having it be a damaging sector, which is interesting. He could just have it be a damaging sector, and where you just walk through the spikes like transparently, and then you take a lift up or something like that. But I guess that would ruin the effect of the spikes, which is like, if you fall on spikes, you're supposed to stay there instead of just like, there's a lot of games where, like something like La Mulana, say, where you can walk under the spikes, or Spelunky, if you crawl to their level, you can walk among the spikes, but when you fall on them, you die. So yeah, that would kind of ruin the effect, because why do you keep taking damage when you're walking through them? So yeah, I think it's his attempt to create the effect of falling on spikes with the limited means of the Doom engine. That's something that you see a lot with, like, for example, something like Mario Maker, with people will try and imitate certain things about Mario games in Mario Maker that it's not built for, like secret maps or something. Like, it won't, they finally let players make their own worlds or something, but they don't let them do secret maps or like multiple exits or something. So if they're trying to imitate something that has that, they have to do, they have to find their own way around it to kind of convey that, and create the sense of magic. There's a secret here that I'll pick up in a second. It's actually an important secret because it gives me the plasma rifle. But at the end of this map, they'll give you the BFG, so it really is like it's the classic progression of any map. It gives you the BFG, and like there's a big confrontation at the end, as you would expect with any of these kinds of maps. I don't know, that like ramping up of like we're starting with lower to mid-tier enemies, and then we're ending by fighting a lot of bosses and archviles with the BFG, etc., is like a really common thing in a lot of Doom maps in general, a lot of community maps, and I think it can be kind of annoying sometimes. I mean, it works fine, but it is nice when things are more restrained. You saw I get teleported onto the spikes there, so that gives you a glimpse of what happens when that happens. Oh my god, my throat is so dry. Yeah, I haven't been feeling super well, so that's partly why I've been having trouble getting out videos, and in addition to other things, just like physically and mentally not being out enough, having a lot of anxiety and other things, but also some physical things that are going on as well. So if I sound a little like hoarse or out of breath, that probably has to do with it. I also just don't know what to say about this map. There's like, it kind of speaks for itself. Yeah, here we'll go up a little lift, and it'll send us to the next area because I have to drop down. There's a bunch of like little winding platforms here. It all eventually, I think, leads to the same place, but I need to get onto this side area. And there's some like cacodemons and stuff that will go around. This area seems more open than it is. And then I'll go around to the side, and I can go up the stairs here. So I have to go right onto an area that's that's locked right now, but first I go here. That's a nice little trick, unleashing these revenants behind these little closed off little cages. I appreciated that. There's some stuff like that in it, to where I would say like the combat isn't just like that. You definitely did consider some elements like that. It's just that the way that this map is constructed, to kind of send you from one like piece to another, kind of makes it hard to really create. And well, he's also trying to create the effect of like layering, like wants you to be able to see through to multiple areas at one time, and to have enemies from previous areas come through, or some, there's a, you feel like you're just walking in the midst of this really big machine. So in the process of creating that effect, the gameplay kind of suffers a little bit. But like I said, because it's such a singular kind of vision, I think it's interesting. So this is where I came from. I just fought a Arachnotron here before, but it was behind that little cages. And yeah, I like the little hexagons and cubes, and I don't know. There was a little like isometric game that I made with a friend for like Ludum Dare, and it had like those transparent and I made like textures be like just those little transparent cubes, like with an outline on the edge, just to create an effect of like you don't know where you're going at any particular time, which I think it is kind of neat, although it's probably a pain in the ass to navigate. I think that was the point of that particular game, but oh my gosh. Okay, so this is the secret that I'll find in 2 seconds, that I passed by earlier, that'll give me the plasma rifle. Yeah, it's blocked off right there. So I have to go up those stairs. And I don't think I have to do anything. I kept thinking that I was going to have to like shoot a switch or something, but I just heard the passageway go down, and yeah, it was that. So it's why having the sound effects and audio on are very good for secrets, because sometimes I don't play with the audio on. I'll play like while I'm listening to a podcast or music or something. So yeah, we still need to pick up the red key. I'm like partially through that area, but I'll come to this like center area where it teleports a bunch of cyber demons, and it shows me an outside view of like the portal that I guess is like the end of the map, or it's showing me like the netherworld or something. I don't know. It's an interesting effect anyway. Even though I don't really get the violet colored like ceilings and, you know, floors. I don't really feel like that texture works really well in Doom unless it's like color coordinated with other things that are complementary to it, and I don't really think it is. But I don't know, that's just how these things are. A lot of like Doom wads want to look like something cool and maximalist like this. A lot of Doom mappers, and they'll spend a lot of time on details without thinking about, you know, the way like a map like this creates very unique effects. So I think maybe that's the bad side of this kind of mapping, is that it creates this impression of, you know, that all like maximalist stuff will kind of be like this, you know, without, and it's really meant to impress people with spectacle, which is like a lot of Doom maps are like that, and impressing people with spectacle isn't always the best way to do things, especially if you're trying to sustain, you know, someone playing your maps for more than, you know, 1 or 2 maps. It becomes much harder to do that, you know, when you're making... The effect wears off after a certain point when you're making a bunch of other maps. Okay, there's another Shaman here. I like how he blinks and like dithers. I'm not sure how that's done either. I don't think that might just be a texture thing. You can see there's arch files in the tube right there. I don't think I fight them right now, or maybe I do. I think they might be unleashed in a second. Here's that big central area. Again, if we start getting to big frame hiccups, I really apologize. I don't really know what the deal with that is. Okay. So yeah, we're just trying to get to the center. There's multiple paths. They all go to the same place. I can climb up these stairs. More HR Giger things. More transparent red platforms. Like I said, a lot of these rooms kind of blend together. You know, there's a lot of these pillars with imps on them. They don't really serve a purpose other than the effect it creates. So yeah, I think it's probably best to not like think too hard about the individual purpose of everything in a map like this. But it's definitely not something that could be sustained over the course of, you know, multiple maps in a way that wouldn't cause you to, you know, get tired of this kind of thing. But when presented in the context of a megawad that is completely unlike this, you can really appreciate it. And I should also mention that several maps by one of the mappers that I looked at from, there's that like red portal that I mentioned, like Netherworld or something. I can't go through it, but I think it's showing you where you're going to, you know. This might be the arch file that was unleashed, or maybe it's telling me about, maybe it's giving me a hint about what will happen at the end of the map. So you can hear Cyber Demon rockets now. 2 Cyber Demons just appeared here. I'm playing it on Hurt Me Plenty because, you know, you get the idea. I don't need to play these on Ultra Violence to give you the idea, and I didn't want to die a bunch. But, you know, there's still plenty of boss monsters to fight. But that mapper from the Japanese mapping project, I think his name is Barabao Jr. or something like that. Like a resplendent emerald green, like a map like that, you can definitely tell is influenced by this. And he has some that are really obviously influenced by the previous map, Interstellar Sickness. So yeah, this mapper, lupinx-kassman, has been very, very influential. But like I said, having a lot of influence is always a double-edged sword. I mean, there are people like in the Doom community, like Eric Alm, who made Scythe and Scythe 2, which are incredibly popular map sets. But to the point where like people are become their acolytes to a really overbearing degree. They're like, oh, this guy, you know, he knows restraint in his maps, and like there becomes like a kind of like figure worship of certain kinds of things, and I always find that kind of annoying when people will wield that against newbies and stuff like that. People who have their own trouble like following, you know, what they view as, you know, really great and influential. So I feel like that can be a kind of a toxic community dynamic too that gets kind of irritating. And I don't like think that like people don't necessarily try and outdo maps like this, but there is a lot of like influence, and sometimes, you know, when people try and shoot for the stars when their technical capabilities are not there, and they're not trying to do something original, maybe they're just trying to imitate something like this, it just becomes really apparent and obnoxious. So I can see why, in this case, I like that little staircase, by the way, before this portal. And in that case, I can see why that would be really annoying to people in the community and stuff. But that's also why I tend to like talking about things that I feel like are less beloved in this kind of way, because it's always a double-edged sword. So yeah, these little, I don't know, airways or whatever you want to call them, airlocks are being gradually unlocked, and this is where the frame dropping will get really bad. You can see how easy it is to kill a spider mastermind with a BFG. I think sometimes you can kill them with one shot, very easily too anyway. I don't know why I'm fighting these guys. This map is also pretty easy to get all the secrets in. You can see all those little like goofy LED displays, and all the little different textures used. Because a lot of them are within the same color scheme, it works. It doesn't just look like pure noise, or if it does, it doesn't really get in the way. Yeah, I'm really sorry about all the frame hiccups. I don't know why it just started here either, because it's not like there's any more going on here in the map than there is anywhere else. I'm not sure why my computer decided to do that. But yeah. So just a few more of those, and a few more of my computer just going crazy. I literally exited out of all my programs and stuff while I was recording this too. I recorded it in software ZDoom, so maybe that makes a difference. Maybe it wouldn't be as bad in GZDoom. I don't know. I always assume that it's going to be better in ZDoom, but sometimes it's actually slower, so... I don't like the look of GZDoom stuff sometimes as much. I feel like the software stuff kind of has a grittier look that I feel like suits Doom better, but so much, uses GZDoom now that I end up using it a lot of the time anyway. So yeah, gonna rather uneventfully fight another spider mastermind who's gonna kill me because I shoot too soon, because you have to wait until the platform goes all the way down. There's not much going on here. It's really, like I said, about the effect. I don't know, I'm a little annoyed about the overuse of boss monsters, because it's like, you've dealt with one, you kind of don't need to just keep plowing through them. But that's the limitations of Doom mapping. You work with what you have, so I don't really blame the mapper for that, per se. But it is something that I get annoyed about sometimes. It's like, okay, I don't want to... This is a boss monster. If I'm going to fight, I want to fight one or two, not 5 per level. This is not what I want to be doing with my life. Especially cyber demons. I'm sorry, I don't find fighting cyber demons fun. I know some people do. Now there's a set called Cyber Dreams, I think, where it's all puzzles involving killing the cyber demons. That's kind of interesting. Here I just have the BFG, so there's just a matter of time before I can kill the thing, so it's not that interesting. Yeah, that thing, I'm missing a secret here. I don't know how to get the final secret, but this just teleports me back to the beginning, which is kind of a neat little connection back to the very, very beginning of the map. And that's the very end. So I have to go through one last little gauntlet here of arch files. And this is a scenario that, I think in my old Doom mixtape videos I played a set called Equinox or Equinox. It has a very similar setting like this. I think at the end of one of its maps where you just fight archviles, it gives you an invulnerability and, you know, unleashes a billion archviles, and it basically the whole idea is you have to kill them before they kill you, you know, before you run out of invulnerability. I love the little effect, the little chrome effect on the shaman there you saw. So yeah, I just have to kill them. I managed to do it, so it's a nice little, like, test of how quickly you can kill things while you're being, like, thrown around by these archviles. If I had more BFG ammo, then it would be more anticlimactic. Yeah, the little chrome, it looks kind of cool with the invincibility. So there's switches there. I assume that's the last secret. I thought you could just shoot them, but I think I missed something. So probably the last secret is through there, but kind of like weird lack of direction here, because you think that the map would just end here, but actually you just need to go back into that previous room. So I'm not like a huge fan of that. I am a huge fan of how everything turned dark in here, though. I love it when rooms transform into other things. So in that way, I think it's a nice ending. So yeah, you just kind of go through here, and all you have to do is walk through here, and it'll send you through a little moving conveyor belt of red. I like that effect. And there you go. That's Shaman's Device by lupinx-kassman. Yeah, not much else to say. Definitely check out Interstellar Sickness as well, map 20 from Community Chest 4, as well as this one. I'll probably have more of these videos in the future if I'm feeling up to it. Like I said, I'm sorry my voice is like hoarse and everything. It's very irritating that I'm not feeling well and dealing with this stuff. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. Enjoy playing Doom. I don't know what else to say. And I'll catch you on the next one, whatever that is. We'll see in the near future, hopefully.